Perfect. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Carter Cook. I'm the Customer Success Manager for InfoBase, and today I want to walk you through the Mailbox Plus online magazine for early childhood, elementary school up to grade 6. The Mailbox Plus, which I'm featuring here on the screen right now, is it was formerly a magazine prior to 2013, an actual printed magazine or journal that you could subscribe to and receive at your elementary school. Very popular with teachers when I started teaching in the 1990s. Every school I worked at, we had a subscription to the Mailbox magazine because it had these wonderful reproducible worksheets, activities, cutouts that we could do to create bulletin boards for different themes or different curricular areas and such. And what they've done starting from 2013 on is they digitized it, and it is now a online magazine that has a monthly issue that starts every month. And with this being October 1st, we will have the October issue that I can preview for you as well. One of the things I do want to point out is Discus members also have access to our other product, Learn 360, which is a streaming media platform for pre-K through grades 12. And because Discus is also a Mailbox Plus subscriber, all of the resources that I'm going to show you today in the Mailbox Plus are also embedded in Learn 360. But what I want to show you today is the actual Mailbox Plus interface so you can browse it as it was originally intended to be, as a monthly journal or magazine. So I'm going to reset to the home page here. And you can see it says, "Welcome back, Carter Cook." That's me, because I have created a personal account. Now you can just peruse the Mailbox Plus without having to log in. You just log in with the generic credentials or your authentication, and you can download any of the resources I'm showing you here. But when you create a personal account, it gives you the ability to save a lot of the items that you've discovered and curate them in folders or just the individual items, and then they're always in your account. So one of the things I first want to point out, I'm going to kind of jump ahead, and in this drop-down menu to the left, notice I have Browse Grades, Browse Subjects, and Resources. I'm going to go under Resources and go to the Mailbox Archives. And I'm going to minimize this just so you can see. But as I said, this was formerly a magazine in print, but beginning in 2013, it started having a digital online presence. And so all back issues with all the hundreds and thousands of resources over the last 12 years are all archived here in this platform. And you can see that they've divided the archive by the grade levels. So you have your preschool resources, kindergarten, grade 1, and then grades 2 and 3 and grades 4, 5, and 6 are also sectioned out. And the most recent issue is also archived. So here's a November issue coming up, November 2025. I can go back to October, our current month, or I can back up a little bit. I'm going to go back to August 2025, and I can advance 1 month at a time until we get to the most current issue. Now, one of the things I want to note is each magazine is still divided into these sections. So I've opened to kindergarten because that's what I clicked on in the archive. And with every issue, it gives you an overview from the editor, just like at the front of any other printed magazine. And the editor basically gives you information about what is featured in this month's issue of the magazine. But what I like about the Mailbox is they have different editors for different grade levels. So the editors that select and develop the content and write the supporting documentation for it are experts in that grade level area. So you notice there's a From the Editor here talking about a November journal, Turkey Math and Literacy, and Great Acorns, a print and use center that's easy to set up. But if I go to grades 2 and 3, notice From the Editor talks about seasonal math and ELA sorts, capitalizing holidays, and Dino division. So for each grade level that I go to, there's a different editor, or at least a different focus from the editor. So if I go to preschool, talks about shapes for turkey, feeling thankful, and acorns. And then I scroll below, and it gives me a preview of the activities that are in that issue and downloadable. And you can see there's quite a few. Some are Blackline Masters that you can print out and have students complete. Others are full color to use with direct instruction or for centers. And then the mailbox also has some tools for teachers to create things like their own flashcards, and that's always featured at the bottom. I also want to point out here when you're looking at an issue, so this is preschool, I can also click here next to the Google Translate icon, and I can switch from looking at previews of the images to a list of the resources that are in that month's issue for that grade level. So everything I just showed you with the preview images is now listed here. And I can save this issue to my personal account, or I can share this issue. If I click on share, I can generate an email straight from within the mailbox, put the recipient's name, their email address, gives me a place to put a message, because it's not going to come from my personal email account. It's going to come from the mailbox. So I always recommend people in the message say who it's from, so people will understand they're not being spammed by a bot. Also under share, you can do this copy link, which will copy the URL, or you can get an embed code. So you can get an HTML embed code if you're using a Google website or Google Classroom, or if you need an LTI link. Also, when I showed you copy link, you'll also see that at the top of almost every page in the mailbox. So whatever you see on this page has a persistent URL that's always there. You can come back to it year after year after year. And this copy link is the same as copying the link under share. Also, we have Google Translate. I believe now there's about 113, maybe 130 languages available for Google Translate. I'm going to change it to Croatian. And you see it changes everything on the interface. Now, of course, it does not change if I were to click on one of these. The instructions for the resource changes, but if there's anything written on the actual activity or worksheet, that would remain in English. I'm going to go back to English. And it switched it back. Also notice from here, when I'm in the archives, I'm on this lesson for November 2025, but maybe I want to go back and look at November from 2022 or something, because I remember something really cool that I used in November or October from a previous issue online, or maybe I found some of the reproducibles in a file folder or something. So I can go back to all archives, and it returns me to that master list. Going back to the drop-down menu, which I think Google Translate has frozen me up. Let me hit refresh here. There we go. Going back to the drop-down menu, you can also browse content instead of looking at each monthly issue of the magazine with the themes. You can also browse by grade level or by subject. So in Browse Grades, these are the grades that are always consistent. And if I select a grade like grades 2 and 3, once I get into that grade level, then I can drill down again by my subject area. And the subject areas for all grade levels are language arts, math, science, social studies. There's also seasonal. Other is usually cross-curricular. It's not specific to one particular area. And then there's teacher tools, which I'm going to focus on here in a few minutes. But you can see, for example, under math for grades 2 and 3, or let's pick science. Then it drills down even further. So under science, are we talking earth science, life science, physical science, or other science, for example, STEM projects? So under life science, there's 53 assets in the Mailbox Plus for the human body. So if I click on that, and what I want to point out here is when it does this search and you're searching by grade level, and then you've selected your subject area, and then you've drilled down to a particular skill area, it is looking at all of the assets in the Mailbox Plus from 2013 forward. So you're seeing everything available in there. And as I said earlier, if you're ever in our other product, Learn 360, and you click on some of the reproducibles or printables, you'll probably see a lot that were populated by the Mailbox Plus. So everything that you see here would also be integrated into Learn 360 if you started searching for science human body. So you'll see a lot of these repeated here. It's just in this interface, it kind of collects them a little bit better for you so you can curate them and archive them for yourself. So once I'm here, I can filter the 53 results. It's already selected human body. It's already got me at my grade level, so I'd pre-selected. But one of the things I want to point out is types. What type of resource? Because it can be a booklet, it can be a game or a game board. It might be an idea, like a bulletin board idea. Patterns, pattern cards that are in there, a resource, songs, poems, and rhymes, worksheets. So I'm going to click on worksheet. Notice it's 26 results. You can see most of these worksheets are all Blackline Masters. I'm going to pick this one with the skeleton, boning up on numbers. This is a 2-page worksheet because what I like about the Mailbox Plus, and it is small. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit more. But that's an answer key. So when a worksheet has something for students to complete, there's always a separate page for the teacher or instructor or adult with an answer key. So that's a great help to teachers. This is also very helpful if, for example, you have left this activity or this worksheet for a substitute teacher and they're not familiar with this content area and wouldn't know the answer. So they have the answer sheet as well. The other thing I want to point out with all of our assets is there's a lot of tagging, kind of like in social media, to kind of show you all the different topic areas that this worksheet covers. And then it'll tell you the details. This worksheet is designed for grades 3 through 6. It's a cross-curricular worksheet, meaning even though we found it in science, it can be used in other areas. For example, it looks like there's quite a bit of reading on there and a closed reading activity. The skill is problem solving. It's 2 pages, but remember 1 page is the answer key. The asset type is a worksheet, and then every asset that you see in the Mailbox Plus also has an item number, kind of like an ISBN for a library book or even a barcode number for a library book. So you could record in lesson plans or in your own recording, you could record this item number, and it's very similar to saving or copying that link or URL to this, because you can also search by that item number and come right to this in the Mailbox Plus. Now, if I really like this and I'm in my personal account, I can save it. I can save it to a folder. You can also create classes in the Mailbox Plus. Like if I was looking for grade 6 material and I teach 4 sections of one type of science and 2 sections of another type of science, I may want to curate and organize my assets in this account by my classes and not necessarily by folders, or I can download it. And I'm going to download it so you can see. It'll open up a PDF viewer. And then you can see how it would appear if you were to print it out on printer, or since it's PDF, you can now download a copy onto your device or your computer and then post it or share it however you see fit. And there's the answer key. I'm going to get out of this. Going to go back. The other thing I wanted to show you is Wait, we were in grade level. I'm sorry. 2, 3, science, human body. Go back to our original search. So I have 53 results. And because of the way I went in by browse by grade level and then by subject, it's already filtered it down to human body for grades 2 and 3. I showed you how we can look at the different types of assets that are in there. The other way you can filter search results is over in this sidebar drop down. If you use this resource all the time, year after year after year, and although you like a lot of the things that you've been using for human body, you want to know, well, has Mailbox added anything new since last school year? And you can sort by newest to oldest, or you can reverse it and make it oldest to newest. The name of the asset, you can sort A to Z. So if you had made a notation in a lesson plan book or online in a curriculum document and it gave you the name, but for some reason the link was broken or there wasn't a link to the asset, you can search A to Z. And then also, I think this is interesting, most viewed. And the most viewed is based on the number of hits or the number of times that an asset in the mailbox is viewed by all of our subscribers. So if you're kind of going through and you haven't quite made up your mind which worksheets you want to do, in fact, maybe you're a little overwhelmed because there were so many choices for the topic you picked, look at most viewed because it'll show you what more people are viewing and downloading that are current subscribers. I'm going to go back up to my drop-down menu. So we did browse grades, browse subjects, very, very similar. What I like about browse subject is you can do seasonal. And when you're browsing by subjects, the grades are not already picked for you. So as you can see, there's over 26,000 assets related to seasonal activities. November would be Thanksgiving, October would be Halloween, it would also be fall or autumn. So there's seasonal. I can say I want to look at just grade 1. There's still 11,430 results. I can look at this. There's awards, there's booklets, there's cards, there's centers. Oh, clip art. Let's look at that. View 53 results. And you can see the clip art, some's full color and some is black and white. And there's so many results, you have to keep clicking load more results. And again, I can sort this from newest to oldest, A to Z, most viewed. I'm going to sort it by most viewed. And then if I found some cool stuff and I wanted to share it out with other people in my department, my grade level, my school, parents, I can copy the link and share that URL. But the other thing I like is you can export all titles. If I export all titles, it's going to create, here's an example of one I did earlier today on Math Tools. Well, it won't let me open, it wants me to save. Anyway, what it will do is it will create an Excel spreadsheet that lists every one of these assets on a row of the spreadsheet with the URL to that asset, a description, a name, the grade levels, etc. So that's very, very handy if you're looking to record a lot of assets or resources for a particular teaching unit or something like that. And I'll show you an example of that when we go look at math, because that's a good area to show those. If I go back up under Browse Subjects, the other thing that you can go to directly, which they are embedded over here by the grade levels, but in addition to seasonal, there's also teacher tools, writing prompts, and other. So teacher tools, I'm going to click on that. There's 7,600 results. Teacher tools, these are classroom management and incentive resources, as well as some worksheets and activities that are not specific to a particular subject. For example, things that support social emotional learning. So here's an example of a writing assessment. Gives you the details, designed for grades 2 and 3, curriculum writing. Assessing writing, 1 page. And I'll enlarge it so you can see it better. But you can see place for the student's name, the date, the title of the writing, and then it's a rubric. So this could be used for students if they want to self-evaluate their work, or it could be for the instructor or the teacher to basically assess their work. But the assessment items are listed here, and it's a yes or no. Do you agree it was met, or do you disagree it was met? And then any comments at the bottom. Under the types of teacher tools, there's also awards. And for a lot of these, they're meant to be half-page certificates, but they're ready to go. In this case, here's some coupons, but just things ready to go out of the box for teachers where they don't have to reinvent the wheel or go out there and look for clip art to create their own. And there's quite a variety here. We've looked at clip art, we've looked at the awards. There's other things like graphic organizers. There's your Venn diagram. And then there's a version of a Venn diagram called the friendship Venn diagram. If I go back. The other thing I want to show you is a booklet, because there are large files in the Mailbox Plus of multi-page booklets. So this one I'm going to drill down a little bit more. So I want a booklet, and I want a booklet. Let's do grade 4. So there's 5 of them. So there's a journal for June, a journal for August, a July newsletter template, a journal for September, and tree trimmers. So let's look at journal for September. Then I'm going to download it. It says 1 page. So in this case, even though it says booklet, it looks like this is more of a cover page for a booklet where they would then put their own journal entries behind it. Let me see if I can find a better version of an actual booklet. Let's go to a different grade. And I'm going to pick my autobiography, just shot in the dark here. Here we go. So this one is 3 pages, and you can preview the pages. So this would be a 3-page booklet with instructions on the back. Going back to browse resources, that was teacher tools. There's also a variety of writing prompts. There's 42 writing prompts when I click on this section. Again, if I wanted to export all of them into a spreadsheet with hyperlinks to each individual writing prompt, I could produce that. Or I can copy this link and then share it out with other people. Under the writing prompts, there's cards, graphic organizers, resources, and worksheets. I'm going to limit to worksheet. Here's a rainy days journal. So the student would complete this. The writing prompt is on here, and then the instructions for it. And some of these writing prompts can be just sentence starters. Some of them can be an image or a phrase or something, just whatever it takes to kind of encourage students and kind of get those creative juices flowing so that they feel comfortable expressing themselves in print. If I go back to Browse Subjects, I'm going to click on Other, and Other is kind of things that don't neatly fall into a particular subject area. So cross-curricular activities and also activities for younger students and children that just develop fine and gross motor skills. So there's 2,300 that fall under Other. I'll do pre-kindergarten because that looks like where half of them are. And I can do a center and view those 276 results. Colorful words. Just ready to go, things like that. And like I said, this is under Other because these wouldn't necessarily fall under one of the curricular subject areas. I'm going to go back to the home page. And then at the very beginning, I had explained to you that this was used to be a print magazine and now it's an online magazine. And we got to that archive under resources, the Mailbox archives. But two other cool things that are in the Mailbox Plus are these make and print tools. Make and print tools allow teachers to create their own custom worksheets and activities. There's a card maker, a spelling list maker, a bingo board maker, some instant forms like newsletters, awards, programmable cards, and these are things where you can go in and edit them to meet your own needs. There's also math tools and language arts tools. So I'll just show you an example of these because I really think from someone, an instructor or a teacher who is wanting to create or tailor instructional materials, this is perfect and saves a lot of time. So for Card Maker, I can select my layout. I've got this layout. I can do 4 to a page, 3 to a page, 2 to a half page. I'm going to do this one, 4 to a page. I'm going to select some art. I can change my font. I can make my font size as big as I need. I can even change my font color. And then basically, I create what I want on each card. It could be color names, it could be math facts, it could be spelling words. And then I can keep adding to the number of cards. And then I can preview. So I'm just going to do, just put in some things here. Da, 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 so we can see what it looks like. Then do preview. And you can see there's the clip art I selected, the number I selected, and then whatever my text is that I add. And then I can download that if I choose. So Card Maker, a very handy tool. I know a lot of teachers at the beginning of the year, they use this one to make locker name tag labels or desk name tag labels, especially if you're a teacher in a school where you have quite a bit of student transiency or turnover. And so you're constantly having to relabel like every grading period because you get new students enrolled or older students withdraw. Just real quick and easy for that. If I go out of the card maker tool, the spelling list maker is another one very similar. I can do a spelling list. I can do a spelling list with activities, and I'll show you the difference between the two. Number of columns. I'll do 2 columns. Again, I can pick a border or no border at all. Let's do gumdrops for Halloween. My font size, my font color. Let's do purple. Name of your board. And then I start adding my spelling words here. Separate them by a comma or a space. And if I do preview, it'd be 2-column and my list of words would be there. If I do a spelling list with activities, I can enter my own activities or my own instructions to do with the spelling words, like write the spelling words in your own handwriting 3 times each, or there's some that are just ready to go. And these are just some often used instructional techniques for students to practice spelling words. So work with a partner, writing them, look up the word in a dictionary, write analogies, that'd be for higher grades. For the lowest grades, use the magnetic letters to form the words on the cookie sheet. So there's quite a variety ready to go. I think these are also great for teachers who are looking for something quick and easy to send home with parents as sort of homework, but really the homework is that the students need to spend time outside of the classroom learning those sight words and things like that. And this is something the parents can easily understand. Plus you can decorate and make it as cute as possible so it looks like something that people want to engage in and do instead of just a bland like Word document. The bingo board maker, very helpful. You want a 3x3, a 4x4, or a 5x5? You can do how many unique boards do you want? Do you want 2 unique boards? So every other kid in the class that's using it, there's just 2 boards to choose from, or you can go all the way up to 30 for like an entire class where each one has their own unique board. Again, you can pick a border or no border at all. Your font sizes and color, give your board a title, and then 35 words is what they recommend for a 5x5, and it even does a word count for you. And then you can preview it and you've created your own bingo board. Under instant forms, awards, checklists, which I think are handy for classroom management. Some are for students to use, like an editing checklist. Some are blank, like a morning checklist. What are the 4 or 5 things that students need to do at the start of every day so that they're ready to learn at a certain time in the morning? A skills assessment checklist, a checklist so students can revolve independently to learning centers around the room, and then lots of different tracking charts and reading logs. But again, these are all ready to go, printable, share them electronically or print a hard copy. This is another example where I can copy this link and share it out with other teachers, or I can export all of these, all 19, into an Excel spreadsheet, which have hyperlinks to each one of these forms, and I can kind of keep it handy, saved on my computer or something like that. So I don't always have to log back into the Mailbox Plus and navigate here if I have a spreadsheet just already saved on my device and it's hyperlinked. There's also ready to go flashcards, some clip art, variety of progress reports, homework, newsletter templates. There's over 1,000 of those. A lot of these are thematic. So I'll do this October newsletter. And this can be used for any grade, grades 1 through 5. It's a 1-page. Let me enlarge it by downloading it. But as you can see, it's a fillable form. So I can put my teacher's name here, the date, upcoming events, reminders, what we've been studying this week, any special notes, and then a blank one. But very quick and easy to generate your own newsletter. And you can, again, you could email this out as a PDF attachment, or you can print it as a hard copy and send it home with your students. And then there's also Notes Home, a little bit different than the newsletters. And some of these are blank, almost like a blank notepad or stationery. But there's 535 forms. Let's do a older one. Because you may not want to send something home that looks kind of juvenile for 6th grade. Just two versions of a school note. It would print on half a sheet of 8.5 by 11 paper, so 2 notes per page. And again, this would be something where the teacher could quickly jot by hand in their own penmanship a note. Going back to my homepage, going back to resources, that was the make and print tools. The other thing I haven't shown you yet, and this is the lesson plan builder. And to me, this is the complete lesson plan cycle, and it will curate the mailbox assets by grade level, subject area, skill set, um, and put it into a lesson plan cycle for you. So how this works is I have this blank lesson plan paper here. I'm going to pick a grade. I'm going to pick grade 3. I'm going to pick a subject. I'm going to do math. I want a skill area in math. I want to do fractions. And then under fractions, which skill? I have equivalency comparisons, parts of a whole, numbers on a number line. So I'll do parts of wholes. And then I'm going to stop right here because as you can see, once I pick those 4 drop downs, the lesson plan starts to form. So I have an introductory activity, which is math idea, fractions as parts of a whole. What is a fraction? I have practice together, which is that guided practice where the teacher is demonstrating and the students are doing it together in class. On my own is a math worksheet where that's independent practice, and there's 3 different ability levels for that independent practice. Because you can see it says here, math worksheet, understanding fractions, 3 versions. And then a check for understanding is that assessment piece at the end to see if they actually understood the lesson objective. Now at this point, I can personalize it and put my name. I can put the name of my school. I can put today's date. Gives you the calendar, makes it quick and easy, and then that appears at the top of my lesson plan. I can select a border or no border at all, depending on how cute I want to make it. I can also add additional notes. For example, if I'm planning to be out tomorrow and I'm leaving something for my substitute teacher, I can put on here additional notes. Students should complete unfinished work as homework. Just leave it for that. I can change my font. And then at that point, if I've got my cover page looking how I want to, I view the lesson pages. And here is what the actual complete lesson is with the mailbox activities now aligned to those areas. So here's my introductory activity. Here's activities where it's guided practice. We do it together in class. Here's the 3 different levels of the independent practice where students would try it by themselves. And then the check for mastery, the check for understanding, 2 different versions there. And at this point, I could save it because I'm in my personal account up here. So if I hit save, I want to save it to a folder. And I could select a folder. I've already got one called Text Features Grade 1. That's not what I'd really save it in, but for time's sake, I'm just going to grab it there and hit save. And then once I've saved something, if I go up to my profile name, if I've logged in with a personal account, it will show in my content. And it would show in the folders here. And here's where I can organize and curate these lesson plans and any of the other activities that I found in the mailbox. Also with the lesson plan, let me see if it'll let me back up. Remember with this lesson plan, there was the ability down here at the bottom to download it. If I also decide now I want to add something to the cover page, I can go back and fix that cover page. But as with any of the assets in the mailbox, I can now I could email this to the sub from the mailbox. I could copy the link, or I could embed the code. If I had a Google Classroom, I could save it to that. I can save it to my folder. And of course, the Google Translate tools also work on this. But again, Google Translate it'll change my cover page, and it changes the web face interface here. It does not change the language in the actual worksheets. Now, one of the things I didn't point out when I was in my content is I can save lesson plans, and I can save some of those exported lists. The search results where I filter down are not savable to my contact, and the only reason for that is because every month a new issue of the Mailbox magazine is published and launched for the 5 different grade levels. And so your list, if you were to save it in your account, would become static, and you'd be missing out on all the new updates that aligned to that. So for that reason, you can use the copy link for the URL, or you can do the export all titles to a Google spreadsheet, but you need to repeat that search each time to make sure you're getting the newest content. I'm going to return to the home page because we kind of glossed over that. If I'm not logged into a personal account, it'll just say welcome or welcome back. These sliders change monthly on the mailbox. So our featured content, we're always looking ahead a month, and then we have our current month. If there's new make and print tools, they'll be featured here. And the lesson plan builder, just always a quick, easy link to that. Also, we're always crowdsourcing our usage data. So some of the most popular things that have been accessed in the mailbox are usually featured in the second slider. So as you can see, people were already looking forward to October crafts and pumpkin activities. But it's already getting time for those first parent conferences, so parent conference tips, and then some activities for Fire Prevention Week. The other thing I like about the homepage of the mailbox is the make and print tools, because these get used quite a bit, are also linked on the homepage, so you don't have to remember how to navigate to them through the drop-down menu. And then if you're in your own personal account, anything that you've done recently that you've added to your content will also show up there. So it's kind of like the last thing that you created and saved in your account will show up on your homepage. Two things that aren't used quite as often, but I did want to make sure you're aware of them, is advanced search. If you're looking for something very, very specific, or resources for something very, very specific, you can do Boolean searching up here to combine search terms, and you can add more rows if necessary. And then once you've done that search, you can then filter it by subject area, grade level, or type of resource. And as you can see right now, currently the mailbox has almost 57,000 different assets. But like I said, that's the archive from the 2013 issues all the way up to November of 2025. The other thing I wanted to point out is browse standards. You can select, they have state, national, and international standards. So here's the IB, the International Baccalaureate Standards, Canadian standards. If I go further up, I can select any for the US, so I'll pick South Carolina. I do have to select a grade and a subject area, and then view standards. And then it will post the state standards as they're written for each state or nation or international or next generation science standards. ISTE standards, AASL standards are also linked in here. And for the standards is linked and it's hyperlinked, but there may not always necessarily be a resource linked to each individual standard. So it's kind of a hit or miss. I'm going to pick this one, see if anything appears for that standard. It's taking some time, so that makes me think there is. If there isn't anything in the mailbox that actually supports that specific standard, it will do what this says right here. There are currently no titles correlated to that. We do use Edgate to correlate all of our standards for all of our info-based products, and they are constantly going in as standards are revised and updated and realigning our content to it. And the last thing I want to share with you is there's a lot of information in here, and perhaps you need a little bit more hand-holding or instruction on how to do the lesson plan builder, or how to create the card maker, or even how to download and share a PDF of a resource. If you scroll all the way to the bottom of the Mailbox site, no matter what page you're on in the Mailbox, and click Help, that will take you to InfoBase's support page for the Mailbox Plus. Under Product Support, how to create your own personal account and your sign-in credentials. Usually with personal accounts, it requires an email address. You can use your school or work email address, but you can also use a personal email address. I know a lot of teachers that if they live, especially like in a large metropolitan area with multiple school districts, and over the life of their 20-something year career, they've worked for 3 school districts, sometimes they sign up for these products under a personal email address. So everything that they saved and curated in their last district is then available to them if their new school district also subscribes to the Mailbox Plus. So that's just a little tip there. But it gives you articles that walk you through with screenshots about how to do the searching and browsing, and then about how to do the fillable forms and the other tools and features that are available in the Mailbox. Under training, there are 3 video tutorials, how to use those make and print tools, like the bingo card maker, the spelling list maker, how to print a packet, and then again, a video tutorial on how to do the lesson plan builder. Under marketing materials, if you are a school librarian, you're wanting your teachers to use this resource. So there are some ready to go social media posts that you can plant on your school's social or your library's social media page. And then there's also flyers. I'm in a training account, so we've got one for public library and we've got one for school that are ready to go and hand out. And again, this would be for parents, patrons, or the staff and faculty. And then lastly, under what's new, you can sign up to receive emails and e-newsletters from the mailbox, just letting you know and giving you a notification of what's recently been added. And like I said, the mailbox, it is for pre-K through grade 6, very elementary centered, very seasonal centered. So a lot of the emails and notifications you're going to get, for example, start of school in August and September, the beginning of a new school year. In October, November, we start talking about fall and autumn and Halloween and Thanksgiving, etc. So, but you will get newsletters and alerts that let you know what is coming up in the next issues. And other than that, I think that pretty much covers it. I want to thank you for joining me today. Hopefully, this has given you a very good idea of all the great resources that are available to you. One of the last things I want to point out is, although this is advertised and marketed as a teacher tool to help organize classroom instruction, classroom management, and provide supplementary materials for teaching subject area things, I do know a lot of schools where the students can also log in and do this and use these worksheets. Parents can use these worksheets. Public libraries subscribe to the Mailbox Plus for homeschooling efforts or people working with early childhood. So it's a great resource for everyone. It's very kid friendly. So you could let your elementary age student get in there and look around. If they want to pretend and be a school teacher and design their own lesson plans and stuff, there's nothing in here stopping them. If you have any questions, you can contact me through Discus and they will relay them on to me and I can look them up. But like I said, on that help page, a lot of the information that I shared with you today is available on our support site just by clicking help at the bottom of the mailbox page. And again, all of these mailbox assets from 2013 forward are also integrated in Discus's Learn 360 video streaming platform, and you'll find a lot of them there. And again, they are also correlated to standards and the subject areas as well. Now I'm going to stop sharing.